Welcome to the Court of History. I'm Sean Wilentz at Princeton University. We're going to have a talk today with my colleague, Sidney Blumenthal, who has just written an extremely interesting article all about, well, we'll be talking about the courts, we'll be talking about mafia-style, we'll be talking about all kinds of things, concentrating on his piece about Emil Bove. So, Sid, let's just get started on it.
Yeah,
I assume the picture will be shown of the piece,
don't worry
and
about it. Yeah.
why don't you, why you know? So who is this guy? I mean, we see his picture. He looks somewhat. His name is Bove, somewhat bovine, or sort of like a
Bove,
cross.
Emil Bove.
Dra-
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but he's sort of a cross between a bovine and Dracula. But anyway, who is Emil Bove, and why
Uh,
should we care?
well, this is one of the key people for Donald Trump. Um, and let's just start with his position right now in the Justice Department. He's been named, by the way, to a federal judgeship um, in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, which covers Jersey and Pennsylvania and Delaware.
Yep.
And he is the principal associate deputy attorney general, and he's the guy who has been the hitman in DOJ in the Justice Department, carrying out all of uh, the orders from Trump, and he's the guy who does it. So, for example, he's the one who fired the FBI agents and the prosecutors who were involved in January 6th. He's the one
Hmm.
who was the central figure who wrote the memo in the Eric Adams case, in which the federal corruption charges were dropped in exchange for allegedly Adams cooperating on migrant roundups. So, which led to the resignation of the sitting U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, who happened to have been a very conservative Federalist Society person, Danielle Sassoon, who wrote a scathing letter about Bove's role and the extortion racket and the quid pro quo that she saw. But let me just say, let's just back up. That's where we were, but let's back up and say this character is one of the, illustrious lives of the Trump era. He is an eminent Trumpian.
Well, do you want to talk about that first? To go back, or do you want to talk about the hearing? Because the hearing was really quite extraordinary in itself, right? The this hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee, which are usually very august things. Or would you like to go back first? I don't care.
Well, let's do his life story, and then we'll go to the hearing.
Okay, that's great. So
Because
where did Mr.
he's a made man. And this is the story of a made man. You said he's one of these guys. Well, wise guys.
He's
Um,
a wise guy? Yeah, right,
he's
right.
Trump's wise guy. Um, so the summary is that there were abuse charges of, and it's all in my Guardian piece, which people should
But
read.
where does he come? Where does he come from? I mean, where is he? Where did he start out?
He starts out in New York, all right,
Hmm.
and
Okay,
he's an assistant U.S. attorney, an AUSA.
right,
All right,
right.
and he gets into trouble with his associates, with the fellow prosecutors, people in the office. He's not Mr. Popularity. There are charges of abusive behavior. He's very difficult to deal with. And he doesn't get along with the FBI agents. They don't like him. They think he's um, tinkering with their cases, and he treats them arrogantly, with condescension. He's abrupt with people, and so this is the rise of a lawyer from the ranks who
Yeah,
associates
yeah,
himself with Donald Trump, proves himself, becomes through unswerving loyalty and carrying out all the dark orders. And
When did Trump get his eye on him? When did Trump first, see
that's
him
sort of
as
the
a?
end of the story. So the end of his career. Let's get to that.
Oh, okay.
So, all right. So he's known to be a relentless prosecutor. He's a detail man, except not so great on details in presenting, when it comes to, you know, helping out the defendants. He's
Right,
and he's got sharp elbows in the office. And so his some of the prosecutors became defense attorneys, and they filed a complaint against him from his own office. And they said he threatened defendants with severe charges, and so on and so forth. And he was denied a promotion to
right,
supervisor as a result.
right.
But then he finally got to supervisor, and he begged and he pleaded and said, I'll deal with my
Oh, well, let him
anger.
do it again.
Yeah, I'll be good." And
I'll be good.
he wasn't removed. So he took that as, exoneration. So then
Mhm.
he gets to a very interesting case in 2021. There's a person who was accused of evading sanctions on Iran. And Bove is the supervisor. He's the unit chief of a group of prosecutors. They prosecute him, they win a jury verdict. But then it turns out, according to the judge, that the case was marred by repeated failures to disclose exculpatory evidence and misuse of search warrant returns, and that the errors and ethical lapses were pervasive. And she vacated a jury verdict and chastised.
How common is that? How common
Very,
is that?
very uncommon. And she
Yeah.
criticized Bove for not preventing these failures. He's the supervisor.
Right.
He's out of the office now. He moves on to private practice, and he joins
Which firm?
a firm run by an individual lawyer named Todd Blanche. And Blanche immediately gets a new client. And who is this client? None other than Donald Trump. And
Hmm.
what case is it? It is the
Yeah.
Stormy Daniels case, the payment of hush money to Stormy Daniels to shut her up in the 2016 election so that it doesn't affect the election.
Hmm.
Um, and so Blanche brings Bove along, and Bove is the second chair. He's sort
At the
of
trial. At the trial. At the
at
trial itself.
trial of Donald Trump. And he sort of botches it. He was not great in the trial. In particular, he questioned David Pecker. We all remember,
Remember David Pecker, the aptly named David Pecker? Yeah, from the National Enquirer.
eponymously named David Pecker,
Right.
publisher of the
Right.
National Enquirer, who
Right.
was key to saving Trump through his catch and kill operations of paying off women to shut them up to protect Trump.
I mean, I'm
And
laughing, but this is very serious stuff,
yeah,
actually.
and Bove sort of screws up the questioning, and he's admonished by the judge in the presentation of evidence in questioning Pecker. He apologizes, sort of, shuffles his feet, you know, mm, tips his hat, and so on and so forth. And Blanche and Bove are very, present a tough face. And Trump, as we all know, was convicted of 34 counts of felony for financial
Right.
fraud to subvert an election.
Hmm.
Trump wins, fast forward, and he appoints Blanche deputy attorney general and Bove as his associate in
Yes.
the
Right.
office.
Right.
And there we are. Trump is appointing his personal attorneys to run the Justice Department. By the way,
This is
Pam Bondi, attorney general, had also worked for Trump
yes,
on
yes,
the
she had.
the Trump Foundation case. So
So basically, he's turning the Department of Justice, elevating to the Department of Justice, his private legal team, right? He's just treating it as his lawyers. That's what the Department of Justice is supposed to be, right?
well, he sees it. He sees the Department of Justice as his as no different from his personal attorneys,
Yeah, right,
and to do his
right,
bidding. The previous policy, as we all know, is that the president, once he appoints an attorney general, never influences the course of justice. Um, I worked in the White House, and I was instructed, you know, not to ever contact,
right,
the
right,
Justice Department to in any way discuss any ongoing case or anything like that.
right,
So,
right.
it's there was a real iron wall between the White House and the Justice Department, and now the Justice Department are just his judges, and it's very
Yes,
mafia-like. So, and then
but now he wants to make one of his lawyers one of his judges.
yes. So he's named Bove to the federal bench, um, and the Democrats in. So now we're in the hearing, and the hearing takes place on June twenty
Just,
fourth.
just to back up, I mean, he's been nominated by the president, but it goes before the Senate Judiciary Committee, as you remember from the Clarence Thomas case, right, way back when. But he goes before the Senate Judiciary Committee for a hearing, and they have to vote on it.
They have to. There's a confirmation hearing, and it's
Right.
not they haven't voted yet. They
No, they
they
haven't voted yet.
they have to question him. It's
Right.
the hearing about his
Hmm.
qualifications, and they get to question him. It's June
Right.
24th, June 25th, rather. So the first thing that happens is the chairman of the committee, Senator Charles Grassley, Republican of Iowa, who is 91 years old. He is, as I say, the ancient mariner of the far right. He's elected in 1980, actually on the first wave of right
Yeah.
wing political action committee money. It was called NICPAC, National, Conservative Political
Yeah.
Action
Yeah.
Committee. He was
We
one of
remember it
the
well. Yep.
candidates then, and he has used his office. He appears to be somebody from Grant Wood, American Gothic painting, but he's actually his office is filled with some of the nastiest far right operatives around, engaging in crazy smear campaigns and so on. So he gavels the session to order, and what does he do at the start? He says that Bove will be shielded, and he invokes two new privileges never before invoked at a confirmation hearing, particularly of a federal judge. They're called the deliberative process privilege and the attorney-client privilege. And he says, Bove's been subject to an intense opposition campaign, and by the Democrats and their media allies, of course.
Oh
The
God.
the Lugenpresse, the lying press.
Yeah.
And so this is from the start the imposition of a code of silence. And the
Hmm.
Democratic senators all object, and they say this has never happened before in a hearing, and the witness has no right to that privilege. And we get to ask questions, and he has to answer, but Grassley won't allow it. And then something else happens. Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche, the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General, appear in the hearing room. This
Now,
is
that's highly unusual, is it not?
It's more than unusual. It's never happened before. They've the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General have never appeared in a confirmation hearing for a judge. Now, why would that be? Would it be possibly because it would be unethical? Because a judge might hear a case involving the US government, possibly involving the Department of Justice, and it would be unethical for them to show any appearance of impropriety or conflict of interest, any perception of it. And
Right.
but why are they there?
Why are they there?
Well,
Yeah.
this reminded me.
This is the Godfather, right?
Yeah, it reminds me of a scene from The Godfather. Uh, I can hear, you hear the music in the background.
Yeah.
Uh,
I get da, 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 da. Go ahead. Go
all
ahead. Go
right.
ahead.
So now, one of our favorite characters from The Godfather.
Pentangeli?
Yeah, Frank Pantangeli, Frankie Five Angels.
Yeah.
He's a capo, allied
Hey,
with.
it looks like this. How you doing? Hey,
Yeah,
hey.
you got it. You got the voice.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
Pentangeli.
you got
Hey,
the
how you
voice,
doing? Yeah.
Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
he's an old ally of the old Godfather, Vito
Yes.
Corleone, the real
Yes.
Godfather. But he and Michael don't get along, and they have a falling out. And Michael, tries to have him killed. And he goes into hiding and he disappears. And
Nothing personal, Frank. It's just business.
yeah, well, that's a different character. So, uh, uh, and that's the Meyer Lansky character
Yes. Yes. Indeed. Indeed.
in The Godfather. Anyway,
Well, this is rather personal. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. So Pentangeli surfaces at this hearing in the Senate, and it's very much like the old Kefauver hearings that took place in the 50s of organized crime, or
Right.
the Joe Valachi hearings, where
Right. Right.
Valachi, the songbird of the mafia, um, tells the world the words Cosa Nostra.
Cosa Nostra. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
remember them.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a Valachi scene, um, and Pentangeli is there to testify and tell all the secrets about the Cosa Nostra. Except Michael has brought his brother Vincenzo from Sicily, who's a mafioso, to sit behind him. And Frankie turns around and he sees Vincenzo, and he has a change of heart. It,
I just told them what they wanted to hear.
yeah,
It's,
I just told the FBI what they wanted. Was none of it's true, and he is
right.
reminded of the oath of Omerta, Omerta, the mafia
Omerta.
code of silence. And so now we're back in the hearing room in the Senate now, not in the movie. And Pam Bondi, Todd Blanchard sitting there. They're not there to intimidate Emil Bove.
Bove. No, Bove's on the same team.
Yeah, they're there to intimidate the Republican senators. It's topsy turvy. Everything's turned on its head,
Yeah.
and they're facing the Republican senators who can see them, and they know that if they don't do the right thing and support Bove, that there will be hell to pay. There will be retribution
Mhm.
from the retribution president.
Right.
Isn't that right?
Right.
So,
The Don himself, as it were.
yeah,
Don the Don.
yeah. So the Democrats are stymied. They can't. Like they try to question him, and they particularly try to question him about a whistleblower letter that dramatically, like in a movie, has just surfaced and
Right. Right.
appeared before the
Right.
committee the day before from a former Justice Department attorney, Erez Ruvani. This is all straight out of Central Casting. And he alleges that Bove planned the defiance of court orders against the administration's deportation policy. And he says he's present when Bove says that we should say fuck you to the federal courts. So now Adam Schiff, the senator from California, bears down and says, did you say fuck you? That they should say fuck you to court orders, to
Right.
adverse court decisions. And Bove runs around in circles for a while, and then he lands on his safe square. And you know what it is? It's the three best words that he can come up with. Not I
Well,
need you.
four. Senator, I
Don't
can't recall, isn't
recall.
it? Right,
I
right,
don't
right, right,
recall.
right,
So he doesn't recall. Um, so Cory Booker, who's rested up from his filibuster,
right.
Democratic senator from New Jersey, says, I'm hoping for more evidence to come out. It shows you lied before this committee, but there's nothing the Democrats can do. And Bondi and Blanche are sitting there with their beady eyes on the Republican senators. And Trump tweets, Emil Bove will never let you down. And he will never let down Trump. When the
Yes, right.
Republicans, for sure, vote for him in the out of committee and vote for him on the floor, and he is put on the bench, and then and then
What can it be from the bench? Tell us what the repercussions of this are going to be, because it's going to happen.
it's going to happen. He's going to be Trump's guy on on a federal bench where there'll be many cases. And interestingly enough, one now we have another side story in this saga of Godfather 4, um, in which another Godfather appears, the Capo di Capis, di Capi, Leonard Leo, Leo Leonard
Leo, the competent
Leo,
tutti copy. Yes, yes,
the chair
absolutely.
of the Federalist Society, who'd provided the list of judges to Trump and had a falling out with Trump. Now they're going to the mattresses, and one of his pals says, "Well, maybe they want to put Bove on the Supreme Court if there's a vacancy."
Ah,
Ah,
I see. This
so
is just a stepping stone. A
yeah,
stepping stone.
this
Yeah,
the pot darkens,
yeah, yeah.
and it all reminds me, as Lincoln used to say, it reminds me of a story. But all the stories I'm reminded of are from The Godfather.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. So
so
this, yeah.
Virgil the
Go ahead.
Third, Sollazzo. He's another mafia boss, and he comes to the old man Vito Corleone, and he says, "I'll cut you in on the narcotics trade, but I need Don Corleone, those judges that you carry in your pockets like so many nickels and dimes." But the old man doesn't want to do narcotics, so he turns him down. He leaves the drugs. He keeps the judges.
Right,
And
right,
of course, that leads eventually to the attempted assassination of Vito
right.
Corleone.
Corleone. Yeah,
So
yeah,
there are a lot of complications left here, but this is very much the story of a made man in the Trump outfit and his rise by doing whatever was necessary to make his bones, as they
right,
say. Um,
right.
and he becomes a judge, and when that happens, what we're really talking about is not a mafia movie, but a mafia state.
Yeah, exactly. Because the mafia will be his guy, his mafia guy, will be not simply on the federal bench, but it will be in line to become a justice of the U.S. Supreme Court.
Potentially,
Um,
who knows what
and
Trump will do, and will Bondi and Blanche sit
show up then.
sit behind him again and stare at the Republican senators?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah. So
it's
it becomes
reverse
not just a matter of,
string tangentially.
yeah. I mean, it's not just a matter of influence now. It'll be a matter of fact. That you'll have this kind of mafia state, as you say, um, running the country. It's
Well, this is
quite a story.
this is one of the illuminating stories about it
Yeah, yeah.
that
Well,
that were is has befallen us and our judicial system.
yeah. Well, let's leave it at that. It's a terrible, terrible story, but I'm afraid it's the first of many, many more to come. Everyone go out and get online and read Sid's wonderful piece in The Guardian. But for now, for the Court of History, for myself, Sean Wilentz, and for Sidney Blumenthal, we'll catch you next time.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.